All right, cool. Welcome, you guys, to my four types of people that will experience life-changing results with BFR. Kind of a big title, but with my experience with this in the last year or so, I find that to be super true, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic. First, I just want to introduce, for those of you who don't know what BFR is, it stands for blood flow restriction training, which I know is a horrible name, and maybe part of the reason why it hasn't grown more yet. And that's one of the obstacles I want to overcome, is that it's actually super not an intimidating thing at all. It sounds kind of scary, but I'm wearing these little BFR cuffs that you can see. You attach a little pump. It tells you exactly the pressure that you pump it to, so it's controlled. After you pump it up, there's individual air pockets, so it does not create a tourniquet effect. Even when you pump it up really strongly, blood is still passing through the band. So with these bands, you're never going to get stasis of the arterial flow, which is when BFR in the past. BFR has been around for like 50 years, by the way, and there's a ton of research that's been done. And if there's has been any issues in the past, it's because the bands were rigid and wide, and that's when they could become problematic. So the great thing is research has been around for decades. It tons of research shows how effective it is. It's very clear that BFR makes you stronger, increases human growth hormone, makes your vascular system more healthy. And the reason why it really hasn't grown broadly is because there weren't the right bands until the last few years ago. So the good news is we now have simple to use bands that anyone can use. And I think this is now going to really make its way into the fitness market and just the regular market of people who are wanting to get stronger, wanting to improve their health. The short answer is BFR will really help anyone and everyone. Anyone who uses BFR will experience an increase in strength, will experience an increase in hypertrophy, will experience a increase in VO2 max. And this has been proven because the people who've been using BFR for the last few decades have been Olympic athletes and professional athletes, people at the top of their fitness game who are working out extremely hard and still get a benefit with BFR. They're working out incredibly hard, are in incredibly great shape, and still find it worth it to use BFR to get that extra 5% edge at the peak of their whatever their sport is. So it's been proven to be effective. And, even bodybuilders were using it to help gain strength. And, fitness enthusiasts, maybe in their 20s and 30s, were using it to gain strength. But the reality is the people who are going to benefit from BFR the most are these four types of people that we're going to talk about today. And I would venture to say that these people won't just get a 5% benefit or a little bit more strength in their program. They will literally experience life-changing results. And I mean that literally and genuinely. I have experienced life-changing results with them. I've had a long-term hip injury. Kat knows a lot about that. I had a hip replacement 10 years ago, combined with I went through menopause at about the same time. I went through menopause young, and I lost a lot of strength and a lot of muscle mass. Even though I'm a trainer, I'm an expert in fitness, I know exactly what I should be doing. I know how to lift. I have great form. My body just couldn't do it. And so I lost probably 10%, 10 pounds, which is a high percent of my lean muscle mass. And I couldn't do anything to change that until I found BFR. And literally within about a month, my right leg that had been atrophied from my surgery in about 4 weeks caught up to my left leg in strength and in size. And the reason for that we'll go into a lot, but that's because I was able to tap into my stronger type 2 muscle fibers under a lighter load. And that is the one sentence kind of reason the BFR works. It allows us to tap into our type 2 muscle fibers, which are our stronger, bigger, denser muscle fibers that usually only get activated if we are under a really heavy load. But BFR allows us to get to those muscle fibers under a light load. That is why it is kind of life-changing for people who can no longer load themselves a lot. So in short, I've been in the fitness industry for probably 30 years, and I can easily say this is the biggest breakthrough in fitness that I've ever seen. And I haven't been this excited about something new. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm like so excited to get this out there to people to really see it help people, make a big difference in people's lives. And I've been working with it for about, I'm working with other clients for about 8 months now, and I have probably about 80 people using the bands with, I would say anybody that commits to using them consistently, and by consistently, like 3 times a week for 10 to 20 minutes, if they stick to that, they will see game-changing results. And I've seen that across the board with all the different clients I'm working with. So let's dive into these kind of 4 types of people that I'm sort of generalizing, and just for the point of making how it's helping these types of people have really amazing results. So the first type is people who, well, first let me back up. Let me define a little bit what I mean by life changing, just so we're clear on kind of some of the benefits I'm seeing. First of all, it's not just to improve your strength a little bit, but to improve your strength and your health significantly enough that it will literally increase your health span. You'll have better metabolic health. You'll have more durability, better bone density, all the things we think of as we age. This can help prevent or prolong that because the benefits it's getting you. It will help people get more enjoyment out of life by having less pain and being able to be more functional, be more active. I've noticed that myself a lot, having more enjoyment, not having as much day-to-day pain, and being able to do a lot more activity. It's been pretty incredible. Helping people feel more empowered and confident, especially as we age. I feel like it can become like our health starts to feel out of our control, and like we don't have as much agency over our health, and things are happening that we don't want to happen. And this really helps put a little bit more control back in our hands, and we can do something about it. I've talked to a lot of clients where you're just frustrated. Like, I know I should be lifting heavy. I know I should be working out hard, but my body can't take it, or I don't have the energy I used to, or I pay for it for 3 days afterwards. What do I do? And this fills that huge, huge gap that there's not been a solution up until now. You had the choice of either backing off and listen to your body, but not really getting the health benefits, or pushing through and paying the price in other ways. So this really fills that gap. Helping prevent injuries, helping people recover faster. And then lastly, long-term, really helping prevent frailty, fall prevention, all those things we hear about as people get later in their lifespan, of the things that can really help, make people go downhill fast. We can prevent, or at least prepare people to be in a better position at that point in their life. So again, first category is joint pain or injury or limitation where you just no longer can really either lift heavy or work at a high intensity. I fall into this category after having a hip replacement, before having a hip replacement, and after having a hip replacement. I fall into this category. I just cannot load my body as well. I've also had 3 surgeries on my shoulders, between my 2 shoulders, and I just can't lift heavy anymore. And combining that with aging and menopause, I just was losing a lot of muscle mass, as I talked about. So why is BFR life-changing for the person who can no longer load? I mean, I've already mentioned it a little, but the key is with BFR, you're reducing venous blood flow. So less oxygen goes to the working muscle, and you start to accumulate waste products like lactic acid mainly, which is what the trigger for fatigue is. When that happens, our type 1 muscle fibers that work with oxygen start to fail, and the type 2 muscle fibers are forced to get involved under a very light load. If you weren't using BFR and you're doing a light load, your type 2 muscle fibers would never even get involved. So for a lot of people, these type 2 muscle fibers have been dormant for years or decades. And so when they start using BFR, within literally 2 weeks, maybe, there can be this big jump in strength, just because you're all of a sudden recruiting these muscle fibers that have just been sitting on the sidelines because there hasn't been the stimulus to get them involved. So that is, you can lift light and not put the stress on the joints. I have people who are coming off a knee replacement, and they do this because you don't want to put a bunch of stress on that brand new joint, but you don't want to atrophy either, because that's not going to help. So by using the BFR along with lightweight, you're able to save that joint and not load it, but you're getting the strength benefits in your muscles and your quadriceps as if you were lifting heavy. So that is a huge benefit right there. So when you're able to lift heavier, when you're able to lift lighter, but gain that strength will then start to offload your joints. The stronger your muscles are, the less pressure there are on your joints. So the weaker we get, the more heavy we are into our joints. So imagine someone who's bone on bone in their knee, and they're getting weaker and weaker, and they're walking, and actually more stress is going into their joint. As you get stronger, then less stress goes into your joint. Your muscles are able to take more of that stress. And so you have people that get reduction in pain. I have a client who's bone on bone waiting for a knee replacement, and her pain has gone down tremendously, and her activity level has gone up because her legs have gotten stronger, and she doesn't have to put as much stress directly through the joint as when her muscles were weaker. So this creates a very positive spiral for this type of person, that you're able to gain strength without applying stress to the joint. And that creates this positive spiral versus being caught in this negative spiral of weakness, and then more pain, and then more weakness, and becomes very frustrating and often depressing to be in that. And this is a great path out of that. The other piece of that, so we talked about type 2 muscle fibers. The other piece is when we get those type 2 muscle fibers fatigued, our brain signals, wow, we must be lifting a heavy load. Our brain doesn't know the weight. It just knows, wow, our type 2 muscle fibers are getting fatigued. We need to adapt with human growth hormone, IGF-1, which is another anabolic hormone. Human growth hormone is amazing. It's one of the most important and anti-aging hormones we have. It slowly reduces as we age, and it gets harder and harder to access as we age, because the way we access it is by working out very hard. So when we're younger, we have human growth hormone, we can work out very hard, no big deal. But as we age, both it goes down and it gets harder to work out to the point that gets it. So by using the bands, we get that fatigue. Our brain produces human growth hormone. That helps our bones get stronger, our tendons, our muscles, our skin. It helps with pain. So there's tons of benefits that come from human growth hormone. And because we're able to tap into type 2 muscle fibers with the bands, human growth hormone is produced at a much, I mean, there's some great science around this, but it's like 25 times the amount if you did the same workout without the bands. It's not just a small amount different, it's a quite significant amount difference. So those two things, getting stronger and having more human growth hormone circulating throughout your entire body, are the two keys for this person feeling better, feeling stronger, getting out of pain, and really being able to take control back of their health. Second category, and one that I also happen to fall in, is women going through the hormonal changes related to menopause. So unlike men obviously their hormones change as they age as well, but it's more gradual for men, where women, their hormones really just fall off a cliff during menopause. And it's kind of unknown or little known that estrogen is super important for maintaining strength for women. It is a hormone that helps our muscles fire. And so going through menopause, our estrogen kind of falls off a cliff. We literally no longer have as good of ability for our muscles to fire, which creates weakness, which then creates muscle loss, which then creates metabolic changes, which then causes weight gain, which then causes this really negative, potentially negative spiral that goes along with menopause. Can be very frustrating, feel very out of your control. It can feel hopeless. I mean, it can be a hard transitionary time. The challenge has been, the only real fight against that is strength training. And most women, first of all, aren't super encouraged to strength training. Our society kind of prioritizes, do cardio, be lean, be thin. We don't want to be strong. Heck yeah, we do, especially as we age. Like, strength is going to be our key to longevity, being independent, being functional. So up until now, women just weren't prepared to really do strength training to make a difference. BFR fills that huge gap that women, even if you don't have experience with lifting, you can get the benefits of heavy weightlifting with light weights with BFR. It starts to reteach your muscles fibers how to fire correctly. All the same benefits that I gave with the first example hold true here. It's just coming from a slightly different reason of changes in hormones, but the result is the same. You get more type 2 muscle fiber, which then builds muscle. You get more human growth hormone, which helps with your metabolism. So most people, when they do BFR training, will gain muscle and lose fat pretty easily, like without really trying to lose weight. It just happens naturally because your metabolism is changing and human growth hormone elevates our resting metabolism, metabolic rate. So huge benefits to women in this area. And I think so important because women can feel really disempowered when they're going through menopause, especially some women who, happens differently for everyone, but some women get hit pretty hard with this. And it's hard to know what to do when you're in that situation. And this is a great solution. You can do it from home. You don't need a lot of equipment. So a lot of the intimidation factors of going to the gym or, things like that, you don't even have to get over. So it's a pretty great solution. And because this time can be very emotional, it can be a huge boost in confidence and hope, and just, again, empowering that you have some agency over your health and controlling, where you're going from there. So that's probably, at this point, that's the bulk of clients I've worked with. I probably have about 60 women of kind of that general age range, late 40s to 70, that are in my program that are really experiencing great results. And it's super fun to be able to help people feel better. The third category is what I call the aging athlete. And I don't necessarily mean a competitive athlete necessarily. I just mean someone who desires to be active, do activities, whether that's golf, pickleball, hiking, biking. And as we get older, just the laws of as we age, is it becomes, we get into more struggles of energy levels, more frailty, or obviously there's a crossover between sometimes the injury and limitation we talked about in type 1. In the aging athlete, that's often the case, right? There's some kind of injury or limitation, but also there's just this feeling of, as I get older in my 60s or 70s, we have this narrative of, oh, I'm going to be more fragile. Do I need to be more sedentary? Am I going to be able to participate in the things I still love? Will I still be able to ski? Will I still be able to do these more high level activities? And in the past, I think there's a lot of fear around, I don't want to lose my ability to do those things. And I think the key for this category, the human growth hormone, I have seen within 2 weeks incredible responses, because you're going from having probably essentially almost no human growth hormone to a pretty significant uptick. And it helps energy, it helps, confidence, helps balance that your body just starts functioning as if it were younger, because you're getting a hormone that used to be in your body a lot more when you're younger that dissipates as we age. And so this is the only technique I've really found that allows us to get that human growth hormone in an accessible way at any age and at any stage of fitness. So again, I think helping people have the confidence and being able to stay active and enjoy the things that they like to do for longer is a huge game changer and life-changing for people that experience that. And lastly, the fourth category, and this category is a little different from the other ones. The other ones all have some similarities, but this one's really just about the person who's got that busy, unpredictable schedule, and maybe they travel a lot and they want to be healthy, but maybe they're good for a week or two, and then they go on a trip and they can't get a gym, and they have meetings, and they're on different time zone, and it's just impossible to stay consistent. And the number one thing about fitness is consistency. If you work out once a week, you're not going to get very far. If you work out really hard for a week and then you skip 2 weeks, you're not going to get very far. It's that consistency of 3 to 4 times a week, just week in and week out. That's where you're going to have the biggest benefits in training. And for the person who's got an unpredictable schedule or travels a lot, that can be a real barrier. So the great thing about BFR, literally the workouts are 10 to 20 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. You bring these bands with you. There's similar bands that go on your legs. You can throw them in your bag. You can have one exercise tubing, or you can have a pair of 5-pound dumbbells, and you can get you can even do body weight too, but to get more variety, you have a tubing or dumbbells and you can get an entire full body workout in that increases lean mass, produces human growth hormone, stuff you would normally need to be in a gym with lots of equipment, lots of weight, being able to go heavy. This, you can just do it all 10, 15 minutes in your hotel room. And so for the people that I've had that are in that type, they just say it makes it so much more so much more possible for them to be consistent. And then the motivation, knowing that you only have to do a 10 or 15-minute workout, first of all, it's a lot, be like, that's easy compared to like, oh, I got to get up my energy to go to the gym for an hour. It's like, I can do 15 minutes. And then you immediately feel the fatigue. You know, you're doing something. If you haven't tried it yet, you know, you feel it. It is different than a typical workout. You get this burn in the muscle and you know you're getting a fatigue. And there's this positive reinforcement of like, wow, I just did something I'm getting results from. It only took me 10 or 15 minutes. I only have to do this 3 or 4 times a week. There's this positive motivation and like easy success that makes it so much more easy to stick with it, because you're feeling the results quickly. It's not overwhelming, it's not intimidating. And so I find one of the biggest benefits is just people's consistency goes way up. And when consistency is there, fitness is going to come. In addition to all the physiological benefits that the bands provide, just the consistency alone is a huge benefit. So it's really great for people that are busy and travel and can fit it in anywhere. You can do it anywhere. So that is the fourth group. I'm trying to think if I left anything out there. Yeah, they'll benefit from all the same things. So the big takeaways, and we didn't talk about this too much, but we did the type 2 muscle fibers and the human growth hormone, and then the vascular health comes because when there's the restriction on our vascular system, our brain thinks we need to get more blood flow. We need to get blood more to the muscles. So we produce nitric oxide, our blood thins, and our vascular system expands. And this creates a healthier vascular system. Blood pressure will start to go down in people that use BFR regularly. VO2 max goes up because our vascular system becomes very efficient at delivering blood to the muscles, which means our heart does not have to work as hard at the same level of exercise. So it's actually less stress on our heart. Our vascular system gets very efficient, and it reduces risk of stroke and improves blood flow to the brain, which is super important as we age. So that's also a great benefit that all of these populations are going to get. And let's see, I'll stop there with going through kind of the benefits and how it fits these 4 groups. I see a question from Sylvia in the chat that the studies for the 25% increase in human growth hormone, is that for the same amount of time trained? I think what it is, and I'd have to look back, I think it's saying the same workout with using bands and without using bands. So you do the same workout, but the people using the bands would get a not 25%, 25 times more human growth hormone. So huge. But
oh, wow.
Right. But that means going light. So either going light without BFR. So if someone went heavy, they would get a higher percent of human growth hormone. I'd have to see, I don't know what the percentage, but the point is, most people, when you think of heavy, I know some people are like, oh, I'm lifting heavy, 10 pounds. I'm talking about, like a deadlift, 150 pounds, or, heavy. That's when your human growth hormone is going to get released. And if you do a light workout and a light workout with BFR, 25 times more the amount of human growth hormone when you're wearing the BFR bands. So it makes a giant difference.
So basically you don't have to lift as heavy to get the same amount of human growth hormone.
Yeah.
Is that right?
You don't have to lift near as heavy. That's exactly right. You get,
okay.
So basically with BFR, you get all of the same benefits you would get from lifting very heavy or doing very intense workouts with low intensity, short workouts. So that comes faster, shorter workouts, lighter weight, and you get all the benefits. And that's true for anyone. That's true for a 20-year-old Olympian. That's why they use it. But the difference is when you're 50, when you're 60, when you're 70, when you have injuries, when you're limited in some way, it becomes impossible to work at those higher loads. So it's not like a choice, like, should I go heavy today or should you? It's like, I can't go heavy enough to make those changes. So you kind of run out of options. So that's why I think for these types of people, it's literally life-changing, because there's no other way for them to get those benefits, because they can't challenge their body in that way any longer. Let's see, another question came through. Any health-related reasons not to use BFR? So that's a great question. There are some contraindications, but they're pretty specific. If someone has acute edema, you don't want to use it. it can help if someone has chronic edema and it's mild, it actually can help. You just want to be conservative, wear the bands for a short amount of time without too much pressure. If you have an active blood clot, like if someone like I have a client right now who went through some surgeries unrelated, he has an active blood clot, he can't use BFR because obviously you don't want to further slow down the blood flow. But so if you look at the research, and I'm happy to afterwards, and I may do this anyway for anyone who registered, I'll send out some research studies. There's a lot of peer-reviewed research where they just look up everything that's been researched on BFR. There are a couple instances of embolisms, blood clots, and that's because of the bands. Back in, like I said, years ago, they would use thick bands, like a blood pressure cuff band. At a very low pressure, those stop your arterial flow. These bands, you can pump them. There's a video where a doctor uses a Doppler, and even if you pump these to the max, the arterial flow does not stop. So that is the huge difference on whether there's a risk of a blood clot or an embolism versus not. So these are 100% safe. They used to only be used in PT or doctor world because they wanted to watch your blood flow with a Doppler. Now that's not necessary with these bands. But so if you have an active blood clot, if you have edema, if you have untreated high blood pressure, someone that has really high blood pressure and it's not treated, but most people, if you have high blood pressure, it is being treated, and then using BFR is going to help them over time naturally lower their blood pressure. Obviously, like anything with fitness, if somebody's very deconditioned, we're going to start out a lot more conservatively in terms of the pressure and the amount of time. So maybe they just do it 4 minutes and kind of acclimate, and then you gradually increase it. So just like with anything with fitness, you want to start conservative. Someone that's more fit, you can start, with a little more pressure and a little more time. So besides those few specific things, anyone that's cleared to exercise is clear to do BFR. And the bands that I recommend, this is another question. So these are called B3. They're the same exact band as B Strong. They share a patent. The reason why I like these, one, they're the most simple to use because they don't have any cords connected to them. Sometimes they'll have pressure cords. Some bands, smart cuffs, are really popular, and those are really popular in the PT world because they read your limb occlusion pressure, which means you can tell at what percent your artery is occluded. You don't need to know that with these because these will never occlude your arteries, so it's not as important to know. But those bands are fine and great. People like them. What I don't love about them, they need to be charged. They're Bluetooth. You need to have your phone on you to check. These you just pump up and you can go. You can swim. You can go to. You don't have to be kind of attached to technology, which I sort of appreciate. We're attached to it so much already. So these to me are the easiest. When you pump them up, you notice there's little individual bubbles. And I don't even have it pumped up very much. They'll get bigger as I pump them up, but that's what creates this band. That's what makes this band. It's the only one on the market that is this shape. So it can never create a tourniquet effect, where some of the other bands, they might be measuring the pressure, but technically they're just a straight pressure on your arm that's creating a tourniquet effect. So this has these kind of individual pillows, so blood can go through these cracks even when it's pumped up really tight, which is the secret to why these won't occlude arterial flow. That's all that came in through the chat on questions. If anyone else has a question, you can kind of like raise your hand or whatever, and I can take you off mute and happy to ask questions. Or if anyone wants to put another question in chat, I'm happy to take more of those. Let me see. Aaron, any questions, or did that all make sense? I know you had a question about you have a surgery coming up?
No, I was just recovering from a hip injury, but
Hip injury.
first of all, this has been awesome. I've learned a lot. I'm really excited to try it. I just threw something else in the chat. Like, where do you recommend getting the B3 bands from? I just looked on Amazon. I don't see them, so I'm just curious where you get them from.
Yeah, you can get them. So you can get them from me. My goal is not necessarily selling bands. I'm selling I sell my coaching. So, but I do sell the bands if you need them. They're $450 retail. That's where you can get them. You can go to the B3 site. You can go to me, go to B Strong. They're all $450. I also do a 21-day intro to BFR program that helps people safely and efficiently kind of get up to speed and learn exactly how to use it and go through a program. so basically you get the bands with that, and then the program's $100 on top of that. But basically I'm discounting the bands and then selling my program. But that's $549. I'm giving a $50 discount for anyone on the webinar who's interested. If you just want to get the bands and try them yourself, there are videos out there online. You can find a lot of information. I just haven't found anyone. There was kind of a gap in the market, and this is why I created this. Nobody was really coaching people from, do this day 1, do this day 2, do this day 3. And I felt like there was definitely room for that, because people want guidance with this. They don't want to just guess and try to figure it out on their own. So I put together a program for that I feel really good about, really excited about. But you can also find out information on the online and look at videos if you're someone that's more self-motivated to do that.
Cool. And is that an in-person or a virtual class?
It's virtual.
Oh, perfect.
It's virtual, kind of video based. I do some coaching calls. You get videos every day. And then I also have after you graduate from that, I have an ongoing monthly coaching program for people that want to kind of continue to advance and continue to expand their repertoire. Or after the 21 days, people feel like they've learned a lot and they go off on their own. That's also fine. So there's kind of a couple options there.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure. I'll send a follow-up. My website is called sellystrength.com. There's some research articles on there. There's some testimonials. There's some information about my 21-day program. So feel free to poke around on there if you want. And then if you have any other questions, reach out. I'll send a follow-up email to this group with that information, with some research, and with the discount code if anyone wants to do the program, or if you have more questions and you just want to do a one-on-one kind of consultation, just, I'm happy to do that also. So yeah. Kat, any questions, comments?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Sylvia, go ahead. I know Kat's still trying to.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I just had a question. I know there was an option to rent them somewhere. I saw that.
Yep.
And how much is that?
I'm so glad you said that. I totally forgot. So I did create an option to rent, because some people are like, how am I supposed to know unless I try it? So it's
Right.
$249, which is the program plus the rental for the 3-week program. And then at the end of the program, you can send them back if you decide it's not for you, or you pay the remaining. So the bands I sell for basically $350. That's how that's my wholesale cost. So you would just pay $300 at the end of the program if you wanted to keep the bands. So you're paying the same amount if you rent or buy, basically. So
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds good. And then the 21-day program, is it like it's a live program that is a certain time every week, or how does
the
that work?
21-day program, you get I'm in touch with you, so it's not just like you're out doing on your own, but we agree, you launch it, you get an email and a video every day. We do a couple coaching calls just to talk about how it's going. Do you have any questions? Are the bands fitting right? You want to, that kind of stuff. But all the workouts are on your own time, following along a video. They're very simple to follow. And then the monthly program, we have a couple live workouts a week that people come to, or you can get the recorders, and I give very specific homework. I have a video library. There's lots of resources there. We do coaching calls, but there's no live workouts in the 21-day.
Okay, got it.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool.
Yes. So in the 21 days, there's like this one-on-ones for like just to make sure we're doing it right.
The 21 days, there's coaching calls. So you're not doing the workout, but you can, during those calls, you can say, we do one right away in the first, like after the first day or two. And we look at, like, if you have a question on an exercise, or you're like, will you check my form or check my band places? We do that kind of right away. The exercises are pretty simple. I start out pretty conservatively. So, and you're using light weights. So it's pretty simple in the beginning, and then it kind of gradually gets more advanced, and then we're in touch as it's getting more advanced. And then when you graduate, it goes to the live. That gives me an opportunity to coach people who want more of that in-person coaching.
And what sort of weights do we have to have on our end?
5-pound dumbbells, 3 to 5 pound dumbbells, just for the 21-day program is enough. Yeah.
Okay.
7.5 if you're more on the advanced side, but 3 to 5 for most people is good. Kat.
Yeah, I finally found the mute. I don't really have any questions. It sounds it sounds fantastic. I did some research after I saw it and saw how long it had been around, but it sounds, yeah, I think I fit most of those categories.
Right?
That
I hear you. Yeah. Cool. Well, it's good to see you. I'm glad you jumped on.
yeah.
Jeannie,
Thanks.
I see you, but I know you're doing your video and I don't know. Hi. Oh, you're muted.
I was driving. Sorry, I just got
Oh.
home.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. I love seeing you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're
good
awesome.
to see you.
I
Thank
want to
you.
do it. I need to do it. I fit into all the categories too, just like everybody else.
I love it. Trust me, I have never in my 30-year career sort of like created a program and tried to sell but I am just like in such a believer that I guarantee if you try this, you will, it is proven, you will feel a difference. You will feel stronger quickly. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I had a
Awesome.
quick
I'll send a follow-up email and then anyone who wants to jump in, let me know. And if you're not ready or if it doesn't sound for you, that's all good.
Yep.
But I'm happy to be a resource and stay in touch and happy to get on any calls with anyone who wants it.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
Are you familiar with Vasper, VASPER?
Yes, I am.
So do you happen to know how this relates to that? Or is it a similar kind of mechanism, but they use
Very
full water?
similar, very similar. So that's so funny because before I found out about BFR, I wanted a Vasper so bad, but they're like
Yeah,
50
yeah.
grand or something.
Yes.
There's a recumbent bike with arms and you have compression, they call it, on your arms and legs, and then they have cooling on you. And the theory is you do this 20-minute intense workout and it builds muscle, makes you stronger. And now I realize it is because of the compression. Now I'm not sure what the cooling, how much the cooling plays into it. My guess is that is not as big of a factor, but maybe helps the recovery a little bit. But I don't know, that's not adding to the strength gains. But when I found out about BFR, I was like, oh, good. I don't have to spend the 50,000 on Vasper, but I can get
Right. Peter's the guy who did it. He's a really great guy. If you want to meet him, I can give you his info, but I don't know if you would like to, but I
mean,
worked with him.
I love their stuff. They
Yeah.
were very, it just, they're very
Yeah.
inventive, I thought. So
Yeah, well, this is what I
it's compression.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what it was either, but it's the constricted blood flow or
Yeah,
something and
yeah.
cooling of it. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so happy about this. I would like to take your class. So I'm going to look for your
Awesome.
email.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Glad to hear it.
All
All
right.
right, guys. Well, if anyone else has a question, I'm happy to hang out. But otherwise, look at that. We were in and out, not even 30 minutes.